Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, and the Shark. Today is our 134th episode, and we're talking about the 1998 Godzilla the Series episode, Bird of Paradise. So, let's get things started.
It's Godzilla! Except it's not actually Godzilla, it's the version from 1998. But we should still run like it is! Even though it's not. Ah!
Perfect way to start. See, go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, technically, the Godzilla in this show is not the Godzilla according to its story, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
But the 1998 Godzilla, despite being a critical bomb, was enough of a financial success that sequels to the movie starring Mothra and King Ghidorah were actually planned. Sadly, this did not happen for one reason or another, but after the movie came out, we did get an animated spin-off, much how like pretty much any movie that was even decently popular got an animated spin-off. I think at one point they were doing spin-off of movies like Evolution and that, which, to talk about another movie no one remembers, but getting back to this. Godzilla the series is different because it actually follows up on the movie, following the lone baby Godzilla from the ending, having now grown up into a full-size Zilla. And the second thing that's interesting about it is this show is actually considered to be far better than the movie by a wide margin of people. I don't know if I would go that far, but I will say it is really, really enjoyable. Go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, I remember seeing an image of this show in a book one time, or at the very least the same book that I discussed on the podcast at one point when I was still in like elementary school. And to me, it kind of looked like some sort of anime or something like that. Not only was that not the case, it was honestly a little better than I had ultimately anticipated. And for that, I definitely enjoyed it when I finally got around to watching it.
Yeah, I can definitely see why. Go ahead, Matt.
So first, this being better than the movie, wow, such a high bar we've set there. But second, the reason that this turned out so good is because they actually got someone who knew what the fuck he was doing. This is the same guy and studio, and you will be able to tell from the art style as soon as I mention these. He made Extreme Ghostbusters, MIB the series, and the Jackie Chan Adventure show.
I definitely got a Men in Black animated series vibe from it. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, that's quite a portfolio he's got there.
Yeah.
The episode itself begins in the Yucatan Peninsula, where a man finds himself standing before a giant pyramid, and sadly, it is not Wario, because that would have made for a much, much better show.
I might want to win.
But what happens is the man then climbs the stairs of the pyramid, removing some vegetation off of a marking that appears to be a giant paw in the wall as he sticks his hands in it. And unlike the Mummy Returns, his hands does not get torn off by the Scorpion King. But the wall then begins to shake before opening up to reveal a narrow corridor with a gigantic bird statue at the end of it. And no, it is not the next level of Mario 2, the portal to get in there, but go ahead and run.
Or the portal from Wario Land 4, which somebody cheated. I can't lose.
Perfect. So yeah, the man puts his hands on the giant sun emblem on the bird. The eyes of the bird begin to glow as the tunnel begins to shake. The ground opens up to reveal lava as the man just barely manages to escape. When he does get out, we get to see a gigantic bird-like lizard, which we'll talk more about in a little bit, roaring in his face. And we then cut to the opening credits, which shows Zilla rampaging through the city with Animal and Audrey filming him. Zilla continues to make his way through the city before he curls up on the Chrysler building and roars. And then we get the Heat team, consisting of Nick, Elsie, and Mendel from the movie, as well as two new characters, Randy and Monique, are dispatched out to see what is going on as the military all fire on Zilla. Go ahead, Angron.
First of all, I do not remember Mendel from the movie all that much, probably because he didn't really have much of a prevalent role in the movie to begin with, or presence for that matter. But here in the show, thankfully, he has more of a presence as a comedic goofball who is surprisingly right in most cases, a la Eric via D&D. Second of all, I love this one scene in the intro where like Godzilla's walking past the bridge and just like this one guy's driving to work and he's like, "Oh, it's Godzilla. Anyways, what if my boss bought donuts or something?" And third of all, that intro won me over with that one sound effect from Metroid Prime's soundtrack. It's amazing.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, we again get shots of Zilla battling various kaiju as the heat looks on. And one thing I do want to note, even the intro of this show has better kaiju fights than a lot of actual kaiju movies do. The final shot of Zilla basically staring at his opponent while the city is burning in the background is really an awesome shot. Like Matt saying about this being made by the guys who did Men in Black, the animated series, I can easily see why, because this opening is just as badass as that one. Oh, go ahead, Shark.
We did it, Godzilla. We saved the city.
Perfect. Just think what would have happened if we didn't warn everybody about the monsters. About the what? Classic. But the episode then continues with a fishing boat as the reel of it is then knocked into the water. Zilla then reemerges with a fishing net on his head as Randy notes that with the net, Zilla looks a lot like his old teacher. Zilla then swims through the water as we cut to inside the headquarters. A TV is playing a report of several Mexican villages having been destroyed. The government all claims it was due to volcanic activities, but the villagers are more concerned with reports of a giant predator being around. Mendel then arrives and tells Elsie that Lawrence Cohen wants to talk to her, and this is the moment where I had to pause the episode to just basically sit back and reflect on how either incredibly witty or incredibly lazy the writers of this show were, because Lawrence Cohen is the name of the man who directed Q the Winged Serpent, because this episode is basically a remake of Q the Winged Serpent, but without all of the violence or Jimmy. Thank goodness for that, because Jimmy was the absolute worst. That's neither here nor there. Elsie tells Mendel to take a message, as Mendel notes that Cohen wants to talk to them about what happened in Mexico. We then cut to the team arriving in a destroyed village, and Nick notes that this is definitely not due to earthquakes. And here I have to basically go on a little tangent here, because I love how Nick neither looks nor sounds anything like Matthew Broderick from the movie. And the main reason why characters look different in animated spin-offs compared to their movie counterparts is due to image rights issues. That's why Imhotep in the Mummy cartoon is this really weird-looking Magneto-esque purple man instead of looking like, Imhotep. But here, it really is just funny because this is absolutely nothing like Matthew Broderick's character in the movie. You could have called him anything else and it would have fit better. It really is something. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. His looks are one thing. In the original, he looked more the part of a nerdy, more studied scientist that's a little eccentric, but knows what he's doing. Here, knows what he's doing, but he looks a lot more Chadley than what we ultimately expected. Even his voice doesn't really reflect what Nick initially sounded like in the first movie. It's kind of weird, and I'm not against this change, but yeah, I can definitely see why it can throw off a lot of people.
It's kind of funny how, since we were in that era where every movie had a cartoon, how some cartoons will have the cast look completely different, while others will look like really identical to their movie counterparts. For example, Agent J in Men in Black totally looks like Will Smith.
It is interesting how some episodes basically did that, but others really didn't. It's one of those things that is very unique, but...
So first, because we're going to be doing a lot of Q references in this, self-insert Q, the Winged Serpent episode of our podcast. Second, Topless doesn't look like Broderick. Sounds kind of fishy. One could say that's a lot of fish.
Whack, whack.
Nice. Nick then walks up to a group of villagers and asks if he's there to investigate as they all walk away. Elsie asks what they are afraid of, as it's funny, the way the villagers walk off, they're more annoyed than like frightened or scared of anything, which is really funny. I don't know if it's an intentional joke, but if it was, it definitely is a good one. Randy, meanwhile, is busy eating as Mendel says that he is starving. Mendel then takes some of Randy's food and eats it, as it turns out to be jalapenos. Mendel then takes his canteen and drinks water while whining about how hot it is. And it's weird how Mendel is the comedy relief here when in the movie he barely even was a character. He had maybe 3 or 4 lines of dialogue, and here he's a major part of it. It is so strange.
Yeah, I get that. Like I said, I do not remember Mendel in the movie at all, but here I'm really glad they gave him a bit more of a role as opposed to just basically having nothing like in the movie. Yeah, he's honestly snarky, but like Eric from D&D, of which we covered him twice on the podcast on the D&D show. Go watch those as well. He has a point. He's not exactly snarky. He does have a point. He's not right all the time. Broken Watch is right several times a day.
My guess is that since this show is aimed at an even younger audience, they wanted a character that would lighten the mood more often for the little one.
Cut to Nick asking a shopkeeper for help. The shopkeeper merely slams his door shut on Nick. Randy sarcastically remarks about the small town hospitality, as Monique sarcastically remarks that she thought Lawrence would be there for Elsie, calling him her boyfriend. And I know the reason that the town's so deserted. They're busy off celebrating No Q Day.
So-
Kind of like how the Bikini Bottom celebrates No SpongeBob Day.
Wow.
Elsie merely brushes this off, saying Lawrence is someone she knew from a long time ago. Lawrence arrives and is revealed to be the man from the opening, and they then embrace it. The rest of the team look bemused by this. Lawrence says, "You look great," as Elsie says that basically you look late. Lawrence is then introduced to the rest of the team as he says how he likes Nick's LA hat, which, okay, thank you for that detail show. Lawrence then says he has something to show the rest of them, and we cut to them walking through the jungle as Lawrence points out the volcano and how the site is halfway to the summit. Lawrence is revealed to be an ornithologist as Mendel explains he studies birds. Nick asks how he and Elsie knew each other as Lawrence says they were almost married, and I will say this show isn't really the funniest show. I would dare say that like Men in Black, the animated series, had better writing, but Elsie's facepalm here actually got a really good chuckle out of me. Elsie then says that she was ready to get married, but Lawrence's work kept getting in the way. Lawrence then notes a scorpion on Mendel's shoulder. Mendel thinks it's a harmless one, but Randy points out that it's actually a venomous black scorpion. And I'm sorry, I thought this was the Q the Winged Serpent episode, not the episode remaking the 1959 movie The Black Scorpion. That's probably later on in the series, thank you very much.
Honestly, yeah, I have to agree that the wit here isn't as strong as some of his other work. I will admit, it does capture the corniness of the original pretty well, so in that regard, it gets top mark.
Mendel then thanks Lawrence for saving his life, as Nick is amazed how Elsie never told them about Lawrence. Elsie claims this is a nightmare as we cut to them still walking through the jungle. As they make their way up the volcano, Nick notes the smell of sulfur and that the volcanoes may have opened it up. The group then gets to the temple, as Lawrence then tells them that this is the temple of Quetzalcoatl, then explains more about the creature. Nick asks what Quetzalcoatl looks like, as Lawrence says that he can't describe Quetzalcoatl hides in the sun. Elsie asks what this has to do with the village, as Lawrence says that he accidentally released the monster. Elsie, channeling her inner Dana Scully, basically says that this is just a myth, as Randy then finds a giant feather. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
No, it is all wrong. Q is a winged serpent, not a giant bird made of dragon scales.
Quetzalcoatl then appears again, at first being shadowed by the volcano, but then she swoops towards them. The group all manage to duck down just in time, as Q then smashes into the temple steps. She then flies away before returning, as Lawrence tries to take a picture of her with his camera, and I will say this, between Lawrence and Animal from the first movie, 98 Godzilla continuity really does like people filming the monster up close for no specific reason, right?
Wouldn't be the first time, or the last time.
Also that.
True. But Elsie yells at him not to be an idiot as Quetzalcoatl is about to stab him with her talons. And here's where we're going to talk about her design a little bit. It is different than Q the Winged Serpent. It's obviously trying to take a little more from the actual myths. She has the brown coloring from the movie as well as the claws, but that's probably the only similarities because she has more of an avian type of design. I do like the plumage, the red head, and the claws being parts of the wing, but there is one part that did kind of take me out of it, and it is going to affect the Dragoness Scale, it's the goofy bug eyes. I know it is kind of like how actual some birds look, but at the same time, it really looks kind of silly. It's like unintentionally silly either. It's not meant to be goofy. She's meant to be a threat, and to have these like ping pong ball eyes, the movie Killers from Space all over again. But
So I know I made a joke about the fact that we're going to be referencing Q a lot in our previous episode. They actually do reference the movie a lot, that detail about hiding in the sun. One thing that I noticed that they were doing, and I think that this was an intentional homage to the movie, is they will have several times where you just see Q's foot trying to grab onto someone, and it's a shot specifically of just the talon foot. And I think that is supposed to be like the animatronic they made for the movie, where it was just the claw coming down and grabbing someone.
That makes sense.
yeah, like I said, that is a very interesting connection. I did not make that, but if it was intentional, way to go. They actually took the best parts of the movie. But what happens next basically is Monique shoots at it, but Q roars at her and breathes fire, then chases the woman.
Yeah, I will admit that the design is definitely a little hokey, even for a series such as this, based off a movie such as Zilla. I do admit that given the nature of the overall series, as in everything's mutated and not exactly completely natural, like something like the MonsterVerse is. I wouldn't exactly put it past them to make a design as unique as this be a little bit off as it is.
I kind of see that. Like, if like the weirdness of the design was intentional, I can kind of see it. I'm not a fan of like the quit staring at me with them big old eyes type of look. But at the same time, I cannot get where they're coming from, so it's not as much of a turnoff as it would be for other characters. But basically, what happens is Monique jumps to the volcano as Quetzalcoatl prepares to attack her again. Nick tells her to shoot the ground as she does so, which creates a blast of lava. Although the lava hits Quetzalcoatl, it does not hurt her as she screeches and flies off. Elsie yells at Lawrence that, "Do you think of nothing but work?" And we then cut to a series of tents as Nick and Randy note that, despite the structural damage, there has been no loss of life. Randy wonders how this can be, noting that, and this is a direct quote, "Giant monsters love munching on mammals," which I'm not sure the original Godzilla enjoyed doing that either, but whatever. Elsie, meanwhile, is like Achilles, busy in her tent, before Lawrence arrives, as she yells at them for basically risking all their lives to take a picture. Lawrence, meanwhile, says that he's been spending over 10 years trying to prove that birds are direct descendants of dinosaurs. He says that the picture can make a difference, as Elsie says that she can help him. She says that she has the feather underneath a microscope, as Lawrence notes that it's a scale instead, saying that this changes everything. He says that we were always a great team, as she remarks, "Not always." The other Heat members then arrive as Nick asks what's happening. Elsie then stammers out that they are working on another direct quote, "science thingy." So quality writing right there. Lawrence tells them about how the fact that the feather is a scale, noting that Q has silicate coating on it that allows her to withstand extremely hot temperatures. Basically, at this point, she is Moltres. Nick then says that Q came from within the volcano, and with Elsie adding that the earthquake caused it to come from the surface. It is good that Jimmy isn't here, because then he probably just tried to think of a way to make money off of this. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
This right here, this one singular ornithologist, is proving a bunch of archaeologists and dino experts right years before they actually were right in the modern era. So props to him for doing that, as well as proving Dinosaur Train was accurate as well.
Nick then says that it's time to cut Q's summer vacation. And it's like, that's kind of a jerk move, Nick. I mean, Q had just been finished dealing with Picard, and now all you have to do is ruin his day. You know, shame on you, Nick. Shame on you. We cut to them driving into the jungle again, then to Q flying overhead as we see just how huge she is. I do want to notice a couple of things. Number one is that Q's screech here sounds a lot like Gaius, from Gamma, Guardian of the Universe, aka also the original Gamma versus Gaius. And I wonder if that was intentional,
I can kind of hear it. It's probably a little too different from Gauss to call it a one-to-one comparison, but yeah, I can somewhat hear it. I mean, it also shoots fireballs. Who knows? Maybe they're also taking a jab at Gamma as well.
Q arrives as she strikes them again, the sheer power of her wings causing them all to fall to the ground. The group all try to shoot at Q, but the bullets bounce off her as she flies away yet again. And I will say this, there's one particular shot of Q flying away that really looks terrible. It literally looks like they just took the cell, pasted it, and glided it slowly across the screen. I don't know what happened, if they ran out of production time or something, but this does not look good at all, It literally is like the, of course, scene from The Simpsons, "I must go now. My home planet needs me." Whoop! Q died on the way to her home planet. It literally looks like that. It's crazy.
The OG Q, the Winged Serpent movie, that would have been a better movie, in my opinion.
That would have made it a lot more fun, but regardless, Nick notes that she took one of the, quote, tranquilizers they shot Q with. It would end up knocking out a rhino, but she took 5 of them and nothing happened. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Since we keep bringing up older episodes, the cell dragging across the screen, at least it still looked better than that Loch Ness cartoon that we talked about a while ago.
Bamboo Bears, that was another one that was really terrible. Monique notes that they can use something else and picks up a scorpion, and I will say this, Monique must not be very smart because she picks up this incredibly deadly scorpion by the tail with her bare hands. It's like, Okay, do you want to get stung to death? Because that's a good way of getting stung to death, lady.
Badass. And also she holds it by the base of the stinger, so no shit, she looks like she knows what she's doing.
Cut to them in the tent as Lawrence says he wanted to capture Q, not kill her. And again, yet another reference to an older episode in this one. Take a shot every time that happens. Ha. Basically, now it's Gamera, the Guardian of the Universe, all over again. The government guys wanted to do the same thing with Gaius, and they didn't.
Yep.
But Nick says that they have no choice to kill Q, as Lawrence says that it could be an evolutionary breakthrough. Elsie points out that if it keeps attacking, Q could instead be an evolutionary nightmare. Lawrence tries telling her that's not what he's saying as she runs off crying, or basically with her head in her hands, rather. Oh, go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting with stuff you're usually familiar in this type of scenarios because government wants to capture it while the protagonist wants to set them free. Here, the government wants to capture it, but the protagonist wants to kill it. So it's like...
Yeah, like you said, that is really, really interesting that they did this kind of thing because, again, you don't normally see that in these kind of cartoons, especially from this time period, you know? Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Actually, a little bit of a reverse here. Larry Cohen wants to capture it, but the government wants to kill it. But
we then cut to Lawrence and the others getting drops of scorpion venom as they trap the creature under a glass. Of course, they could have obviously done it just by saying one thing. Get over here!
Nice.
Had to.
get over here!
They have the scorpions. They have the scorpions.
But Monique says that the venom bullet will explode on impact, poisoning Q's bloodstream and killing it. Nick says that they have only one shot to kill Q, and yeah, this went from Q the Winged Serpent to Gamera Guardian of the Universe to Reptilicus, so we're checking off all the boxes here today.
Yeah.
Monique says that she will not miss as it cuts to the group all eating dinner. Randy asks Lawrence what he cooked for them as Lawrence says that he made king snake and chipotle sauce. Mendel is disgusted by this as Elsie says that she lost her appetite. As Lawrence leaves, Randy says that she's acting harsh as she retorts with, none of your business. Randy tells Elsie that Lawrence did what Elsie wanted, but yet she's still mad at him for some reason. Mendel, meanwhile, eats the dish before screaming about how hot it is, running out for more water. And it's at this point I have to point something out. This is about more than halfway into the actual episode of the cartoon. We have only seen Godzilla for maybe 1 minute so far, which is definitely not the kind of Godzilla to human ratio I want in this kind of show, but we'll get to more of that in a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
We're halfway through this thing, and we've barely seen any Godzilla. Wow, this is really accurate to the source material.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, also, yeah, for as hit and miss as the comedy is, Mendel suffering from the spiciness, a little chuckle out of me. As a person who used to not tolerate spicy foods myself, even as a native Texan, that right there, I can relate with for the most part. When it gets spicy, it gets spicy. Not all the time, but Mendel better have a better base than water on hand, like cream or some form of calcium.
We then cut to the city as Q is rampaging through it, smashing through buildings. Heat arrives as Monique prepares her weapon, but Nick says that he can't as there's still people inside. And here it's weird. Nick sounds different in this one line compared to the rest of the episode. I wonder if they replaced the voice actor for this single line or something like that, because he doesn't sound anything like Nick sounded like before or after. He sounds more like a really bad Stallone impression here than anything else. I don't know why that happened, but it definitely is crazy. What happens next is that Nick and Elsie free some people inside of a building as they all run for their lives. Monique prepares to fire, but is nearly crushed by a falling tower, causing her to jump out of the way. Nick then prepares to shoot Q, but he ends up missing. We then cut to a crying baby in the middle of the street as Elsie runs up to save it, and hey, I thought this was supposed to be based on the 98 Godzilla, not the original Japanese Gojira.
They can do both. Also, thing I just realized, the moment you said that he kind of sounded like a Stallone, it got me thinking, where else have we heard that particular voice before? Then it hit me. Oh my gosh, Billy's dad. Yeah, it very much sounds nearly one-to-one like Billy's dad. Oh my gosh. Now I want to hear freaking Nick the Topless go Mogar!
He could fight Quetzalcoatl himself like that.
Yes, especially if Quetzalcoatl has his pants.
What happens next is that Elsie hands the baby over to Nick, but is then caught by Q's talon. Elsie is seen in the truck when she is picked up, despite not being there when Q grabbed her. Lawrence, meanwhile, is holding his head in his hands before he grabs Nick's shoulders and screams that they have to find her. Nick says that they will, as Monique instead grimly notes that if she's still alive. Lawrence then points out Q's change in patterns, saying that she mainly attacks buildings, not people. Nick then points out she attacked him when she first saw him, then attacked all of them at the volcano. Lawrence retorts that it could be due to the fact that Q is protecting something, as Nick finally comes to the realization Q is protecting a nest and that Q is a mother.
Yep.
And that's pretty much all the justification we need for covering this episode. And spoiler, this will not be the last time we will discuss Godzilla the series, because there is one coming up that is going to be a lot more interesting than this one.
Yep.
But I digress. What happens next is Mendel asks how many chicks Q will have, as Lawrence says 3 or maybe more, and that the chicks will be very hungry when they hatch. Nick says that they're going to have to find Elsie before she gets eaten, and we then cut to the volcano where Q flies over it. Elsie wakes up in a flatbed truck, surrounded by other cars and debris. There are 3 giant eggs by her, as one of them hatches, revealing a baby Q. It then chirps and lunges at her as she dodges it, climbing up the side of the wall. Elsie then manages to climb up a telephone pole and screams for help. And like Math said earlier, this is a bit like Q the Winged Serpent, the movie, because this is a lot like the sequence with the window washer, where he was killed by Q in that one. So it is very interesting if they took it directly from that. We then cut to Heat and Lawrence scaling up the volcano. Lawrence notes that birds always nest near the place they hatch, as Q returns again, shooting a fireball at them. And I will say this, it sure is convenient that the volcano has a giant bridge-like rock for them to hide under, because otherwise they would have been toast from this. So I guess Mother Nature was there to protect them. Nick notes that Q is protecting the nest, as Lawrence wonders how they can get to it. And Mendel then turns on Nigel the robot, which, for me, is the biggest disappointment of the episode, because Nigel was a robot, and the running gag with him, he would have different personalities in every single episode, and then would end up getting absolutely horribly destroyed. The funniest one is where he tried being a rapper. There's lots of static. The party's chilling. I got a homie. He needs some chilling. And then he gets like blown to pieces. Like, it's just one of those things that, again, is so funny, especially because none other than Tom Kenny voices this robot. And in almost every single episode, he did a unique voice for this robot, a unique personality. But here, he just acts like a completely ordinary, normal robot doing a normal robot voice, which is a complete waste of the character. It's like you took away what made him special to begin with. The entire point is that he was like a wacky robot with wacky personalities, and that he would annoy the others and eventually get destroyed because of it. But here, I mean, why would you do that?
Kind of course correct on that. He was initially designed to be a little more serious, as Mendel intended, because he was meant to be a surveillance robot. But the only reason he was ever made a goofball and with all those different characters was because Ramon decided to tamper with him a lot. This is one of those instances where he doesn't, and he's played straight, which, in my opinion, is a little bit of a fresh air. We get like one episode where the robot is normal. Pretty much every other episode for him to be a different character each time. But yeah, I do understand why this would be a little disappointment. That's what you know him as, and that's what a lot of people know him as, I myself. But yeah, we can all blame Ramon for making us hooked to that particular version of the character, the one with different personalities that gets tossed. But hey, at least he gets tossed in this episode, which we're going to cover.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, well, if you really need a voice actor that has a great vocal range, that can basically sound like a completely different character per episode, and yet Tom Kenny's it's a really good choice there.
The fact they make him just do a robot voice is all the more pointless. But basically what happens is Nigel sends an optical cable down and begins filming the chick cue, followed by a shot of Elsie. Nick says that they need a diversion and comes up with probably the best diversion known to man. Let's summon Godzilla! And again, it's just so funny because when you really sit and you think about it, it's like, oh, we need a distraction. Oh yeah, let's use this gigantic kaiju. That'll work out perfect, you know? Q then flies in off screen and ends up smashing Nigel, with his head then flying into shot before shutting off. And again, that's the last we see of him in this episode. Again, missed opportunity. Q then arrives again and smashes the bridge before roaring at them. And here's something that really just blows my mind. The showrunners somehow got the rights to use the original Godzilla roar. And you gotta figure how rare that was. Not even the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla show could actually use the real Godzilla roar, So for this to get it, the spin-off really is something else, especially because I don't think Zilla in 98, I don't think even they did the Godzilla roar. They did a different one. So to use the original one here really is something special. And I will say this final fight isn't perfect, but whenever you hear the iconic screech, that is great. Go ahead, Angron.
They actually did use the iconic roar of Godzilla at least a few times in the movie, so they did get the rights for it. But yeah, I can kind of understand why, because there were a few other generic sounds for the other Godzillas, so it makes sense.
Go ahead, Matt.
And like the Zilla from the 98 movie, our old buddy Fred Jones himself is here filling in the gaps when it isn't the iconic Godzilla roar.
Really? So they actually got Frank Welker to reprise this role. That is amazing,
Nice.
Zilla then begins and roars as the two monsters roar at each other. Q takes to the air and breathes fire at Godzilla, but he manages to dodge it. He then smashes her into the side of the volcano as Lawrence just barely manages to get out of there. Lawrence, meanwhile, finds himself standing by the end of the nest before taking pieces of Nigel to use as a rope. He ends up rappelling down there to find Elsie, who warns him about the chicks. They then begin chasing him as he gets to Elsie before the chicks continue to chase them. Eventually, they end up being backed up against the wall, only for Nick and Monique to throw rope down to save them, which really is just kind of anticlimactic. It's like, oh, how are we going to get out of this one? Oh, here we go. It's like, I don't know, they could have added a little bit more tension here, but we then cut to Zilla being knocked on the ground, and that's another bone I have to pick with this. We don't really see anything of the monster fight. A lot of it happens off screen, which for a show called Godzilla the series, you think that showing actual Godzilla fights would really be number one on their agenda,
Yeah. They do happen, but they definitely could be a little better in this episode.
Q then stares at the defeated Godzilla, then flies off. She then lands near the members of Heat, preparing to attack them all before Godzilla runs up and knocks her into the nest. I do like how her chicks all surround her as she looks up at them. And the first thing that popped in my mind when this happened was the part in Survival of the Idiots. Okay, I warned ya! Did you win?
Yeah.
That's really what it reminded me of. The way her chicks pop up reminded me of Patrick doing the same thing. What happens is, Q then begins breathing fireballs at Godzilla, who roars and then uses his atomic breath, which is something that he did not have in the 98 movie, believe it or not, because, quote, they thought it would look too silly. There is a scene of Godzilla in 98 roaring with a fireball going off, but I think it was confirmed that he does not have the atomic breath. So, I guess his offspring had it for whatever reason. Godzilla continues to shoot atomic breath as Q picks up her chicks and tries to flee, but she is hit by falling rocks and falls into the volcano. Godzilla then uses his atomic breath on some nearby rocks, causing the volcano to be sealed up for good. And, wow, honestly, I will say this, for a show called Godzilla, the series, this has got to be one of the lamest Godzilla fights since the time he fought Gabara in Godzilla's Revenge, aka All Monsters Attack. And, yeah, I mean, wow. Gamera had a better fight with a bird-like creature than Godzilla did, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, but I will admit we're efficient in taking down this beast this time around, because other films, they would probably pad it for padding's sake, but...
The team all cheer as Godzilla roars again because, let's face it, if you have access to the Godzilla roar, you are going to use the Godzilla roar as much as possible. I mean, look, even Pixar couldn't get the rights to use the Godzilla roar for Monsters, Inc. So to get it for this show is really something special.
Yep. He said 1 week, I'm using it.
We come back to the base camp as Elsie apologizes to Lawrence for what happened with Quetzalcoatl. He says that Elsie comes first no matter what as they all embrace. Now it seems like their relationship is getting back together, but he gets distracted by a nearby bird as basically the rest of the team all laugh as Elsie says that he's for the birds, and that's how the episode ends. Godzilla, the series, lasted for another season and was the last installment of the, quote, TriStar era of American Godzilla, because after the show, pretty much this whole continuity would pretty much get thrown by the wayside, which kind of interesting, but regardless, this is not the last time we're going to talk about this show, and hopefully the other episodes will be better, because I liked this, but because I have not really seen much of the other episodes of the show, I can't say it's my favorite. Like, I will say like Men in Black, or like some other animated shows based on movies. Like, there are other ones that really clear this, you know? And I think that it's good, especially compared to the source material, but I don't know, it's just missing a little oomph for me. Maybe the other episodes we will talk about will give that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I will admit, I've seen the entire series, and I will say that it only gets better from there for the most part. I do admit that there is a little bit of oomph the original Zilla 98 had, even if it was kind of buried under everything else. Also, this wouldn't be the last time we would see Zilla in cinema, because he would actually go up against the OG Godzilla, and pretty much would get curb stomped because of that. So if there was ever a way for 98 to go out, it would definitely be getting his slit caved in by the OG's Godzilla. Let's be fair.
They actually have a line saying something like, I knew that tuna-eating monster was ridiculous.
Cute.
This then leads to the question of the week, which is, what are some movie spin-offs that should have happened? And I have two of them. One that almost happened, or apparently did happen, but is completely lost and never was aired. And another one that I'm surprised no one ever tried to do. The first one is a movie spin-off that almost happened, but never did, was Blues Brothers, the animated series. Now, this was not going to be a kid's show. This is actually going to be done, I believe, by the same people that did Duckman.
Nice.
They actually got Dan Aykroyd, and they got Jim Belushi to play Jake, because obviously John, rest in peace, had passed away by that point. And the designs look pretty cool. The backgrounds look really good. There's like maybe 30 seconds to 45 seconds of footage of the show out there. So it technically exists, but it never aired. It never made it to series. I mean, would it have been good? I don't know. But I will give them credit. Number one, they kept it adult. They didn't do like, oh, Jake and Elwood are going to teach the kids how to read. It's like, no, they actually kept the Blues Brothers. I give them credit for that. And the designs are good. The backgrounds are good. It has like the, I think Klasky Scupo worked on it, but don't quote me on that. And yeah, it's a shame because I think it could have worked. It really, really could have. I mean, you had like Aykroyd coming back to even write the episodes in that, like of the continuing adventures of Jake and Elwood. And yeah, I really, really think it could have worked with that. But regardless, it never made the series. And as for one that never happened, but I'm surprised it never happened, was a Child's Play animated series. Now, it sounds crazy, but hear me out. We have had animated series on really, really violent movies. RoboCop got 2 of them. There was a Rambo show. There was a Little Shop of Horrors animated series, which, granted, that was nothing like the movie.
Oh, we got Beetlejuice, for crying out loud.
That too. I mean, Beetlejuice in the cartoon compared to Beetlejuice in the movie is, yeah, way different. Let's say it this way. If you only know Beetlejuice in the cartoon, you're going to be very surprised with him in the actual film. But regardless, I really think a Child's Play animated show, it could have worked. It could have worked as an adult show, or they could have really not dumb it down, but I think they could have made it scary without making it bloody or violent, I think there was a way you could have done that, because Chucky is inherently a creepy, creepy guy. And I really think you could have made a way to make it like a, PG in that, while still giving him his edge, still giving him like, his evil streak. You know what I mean? I think there was a way you could do that. I mean, I could be totally wrong. They could have made one and it could have been an absolute disaster that bombed after like 5 episodes. But regardless, I really wonder why they never tried that. Because, I mean, the first 2 movies were such monster hits. You had Universal Studios, who was doing other animated spin-offs, and a lot of them. They did Back to the Future. They did, of all things, Problem Child, the animated series, a show that got only Gilbert Gottfried to come back, and I think they got the kid, but no one else came back for that show. And yeah, I'm really surprised no one ever tried that back in the day. Now, of course, it would be totally out of left field to do it, because basically the movie spin-off is now pretty much all but dead, but Yeah, I'm shocked they never did that, but that's going to be my two choices. It's going to be number one is going to be the Blues Brothers animated series that technically exists but is completely lost, and the second one that doesn't exist is going to be one for a Child's Play, aka Chucky, because I think that really could have worked. But anyway, go ahead, Angron.
This one's a little bit of a tricky one, but I have two that are going to be a little bit controversial. But to be perfectly honest, I'm buckling down on them. The first is Turning Red. I'll be honest, I still love the movie to this day. Is it perfect? No. Is it kind of pandering to the early 2000s? Yes. Am I early 2000s trash as well? Like it? Absolutely. So we stick together. Yeah, I kind of imagine a little bit of a Turkish Turning Red kids book situation going on with that, where like not only does May keep her abilities, but her friends also get in on this. No joke. That kind of blew my mind when I saw it. Like, it was in Turkish, which kind of makes it hard to actively read the thing, but I saw that concept, and why doesn't Pixar do that more? Then Win or Lose happened, and then it was very clear that their interests were on other things at the time, which, not bad, but could be a little better. But yeah, I'm going to go with that, because I can imagine a sort of slice of life thing where, like, her friends get the powers, and, like, it's either them learning to adapt with it like May has, and, like, getting into kid shenanigans like it, which... yeah, I'm a sucker for that sort of slice of life sort of deal. But yeah, the second one that I had in mind is a little more of a recent pick, and honestly, let's be honest, is you're either going to hate this or love this idea, but I'm absolutely going to go all in on a fixed animated series. Like, when Tartakovsky cooks, he cooks. Good or bad, it absolutely will look amazing no matter what it is. Like, even Hotel Transylvania looks amazing despite being Hotel Transylvania. Like, I love the first film. Second film's pretty great. Third, I have a soft spot for it. I like it. I haven't seen the fourth yet, probably not, but still, Tartakovsky's work, absolutely gonna defend it to the day I die. This is no different. Fixed is amazing. Yeah, it's not perfect. It's at its core, it's basically just raunchy dog jokes, which it's done in such a very unique and very unashamed manner that I can't really see anything wrong with that. Aside from, it's honestly not really a secret that Tartakovsky kind of has a horny streak. Let's be perfectly honest. Like, it was evident in stuff like Primal, hell, even freaking Unicorn Warriors Eternal, but. Back to this, Fixed is absolutely like one of those like adult sitcoms in Tartakovsky's overall style of storytelling. Like, one moment it's long, overall drawn out. Then the next moment it'll have like dialogue and whatnot. Like, I see it being a mix Samurai Jack and King of the Hill or Great North or something like that. Like, I see a sitcom scenario going on. The new pups. Okay, bit of a spoiler alert for this film. That's fairly recent, but yeah, pretty much the main character and his love interest pretty much have pups. It's amazing. It's pretty cute, and in that regard, it's basically just them. It's another slice of life scenario that I have going on. I also kind of imagine it having a little bit of a weird anime sort of deal, like in the style of something like Sakamoto Days or maybe African Salaryman. I don't know, but that's just me. In any case, those are my two: Turning Red and Fixed. Sorry for the long-winded thing. Go nuts.
All good, all good. Like I say, I definitely can see the Turning Red one, especially because, like, I feel like with that, it would be fascinating if they did like a time skip kind of thing. You know, I'm really shocked they didn't try to do that, but I think it kind of underperformed, sadly. But yeah, as a whole, that is a really, really great choice right there. You know, both of them. I really would be interested in seeing that. We'll have to see how Fix does, of course. But yeah, I definitely would be interested in seeing that.
So mine
Matt, what would
cheats a
your
little bit,
pick be?
but because of just how terrible the thing is, I'm kind of not counting that it exists in the first place. So I have talked at length about how much I love Megamind, and I always was upset that why is Megamind not getting any love, not getting any attention? everything around it did. Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, Puss in Boots, hell, even Monsters vs. Aliens, which basically nobody liked. All of those got series, but for some reason Megamind didn't until it did, and then I regretted everything. It's one of those things that it came out 15 years after, and it looked like it was made 15 years before. So I still do not count the new series to this day, and I'm like, why can't we get anything for Megamind? What is it with Megamind that is the black hole of DreamWorks that they can't seem to do anything with, even though it's one of their most beloved properties?
That's honestly kind of sad to hear. Like Megamind getting flushed down while everything else pretty much keeps going up. Hell, I will say this: I am very interested to see what they do with a bad guy series, Netflix movies notwithstanding. But I kind of want to see them give love to their other underappreciated series, Megamind being the main one, because we got Trolls, we got Boss Baby, we got Captain Underpants. One of those three sucked. But yeah,
apparently they're planning to make one of Dogman as well.
and something like the freaking Tiger's Apprentice getting a series, which I very much want to see that happen as well. So that's going to be my unofficial number 3 and 4 in that regard. But yeah, I definitely agree. Megamind needs better treatment than what it got with its sequel, because the less spoken about that, the better.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I will say too is it feels like the Megamind animated series was from that era where DreamWorks is throwing everything against the wall to see what stuck, and like Penguins of Madagascar and Kung Fu Panda were legendary, and let's not forget the voice actor for Poe in the Kung Fu Panda TV show also is the talking flower. So make that crossover what you will, but it feels more like when they tried doing a thing of monsters versus aliens, and that show as well was terrible. And I don't know why, they just, like Matt said, they just can't click with it, And it's very, very strange.
Weird. Like, I could have seen a possible Monsters vs. Aliens thing being like Doom Patrol is nowadays, trauma center sort of thing, as well as just being zany as well, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it, apparently.
I mean, a unique answer, because it's not only based on a movie per se, and also the pilot is out there and a lot of people have seen it, but not many people know it was supposed to be a pilot for a series. And it's pretty strange it wasn't picked up as a series, because the characters are very popular and everybody loves that pilot. And heck, I could quote anything from this pilot and everybody will know what I'm talking about. This is a bucket.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, for those who don't know, a few years ago, the Team Fortress 2 channel released a short called Expiration Date, which is a short where the mercenaries of the game think they're about to die, and Scout wants to get a date with Pauline and all of that. And a lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of people saw it and had the memes the memes were obviously big, the quotes were great and all, but not many people knew. This was actually a pilot for a Team Fortress 2 show that was meant to air on Adult Swim.
Okay, then.
Yeah, like if you check stuff like that, and like there was a collab, there was a robot chicken hat for the game, and as you can see, it will have been great, because this whole 11 minutes short, everybody loved it. All the characters were great. Of course, we have the quote from the soldier: "I teleported bread. I teleported." And like how much? I have done nothing but teleport bread for 3 days. Like the aforementioned bucket quote, the whole like the joke where they found out the bread has tumor and you see Heavy just looking at his sandwich for a moment, like, oh no.
Amazing.
We got a bucket of chickens. Wanna do it? Okay. So yeah, and it's like why wasn't this picked up? Why? Everybody loves it and all the characters are there. The voice actors are here to reprise their role. So I don't know if something happened backstage between Valve and Adult Swim, or maybe like the voice actors were gonna got paid for this show, but they're gonna have to hire more people for if the cartoon got accepted. Who knows? But like, come on, it's Team Fortress 2. The characters are written to be cartoon characters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even just their SMF design. I mean, if you haven't seen the movie Emesis Blue, that shows how much you can actually do with it. It really, really is something else.
I don't think we're gonna get anytime soon because not only has like Team Fortress 2 no longer is as popular as it was back then, but unfortunately we lost one of the biggest characters of the series. Soldier, his voice actor Rick May is no longer with us, so I really doubt they really want to do something without him right now.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, such a shame, but So, now it is time for the patent-pending Dragoness Scale, where we rank the character. Today we're going to rank Quetzalcoatl, but a different version of it, and spoiler, this might not be the last time we rank a Quetzalcoatl. Now, I'll go first, and as I said earlier in the recording, I just don't know about this. You know, it's one of those things where I get the intent, I get what they were going for, I really like the design for the most part, but man, those eyes, I don't know. But at the same time, if it's like it's an intentional part of their design, I could see why they would pick that, and I would probably like to have her a little bit more on screen, and especially her fight with Godzilla, which was very, very underwhelming in terms of Godzilla fights. But with all that discounted, I am still going to give her a score, and I think a pretty high one of 7 out of 10. Lower than I thought it was going to be before I actually watched the episode. I thought, oh, Godzilla monster? Easily, she's going to get like a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, or higher. But no, I just kind of have to give it to her because I feel like great design, great, obstacle on that, but they don't really do anything with her, and it is kind of a shame. But with that being said, she looks just good enough to where I really, really think that it kind of discounts all the quibbles I have, like with the giant eyes and that. I really do enjoy her look. So I'm going to give her a 7 out of 10 for that reason. Angron, what would you give her?
Me too, I'm also going to go for a 7 out of 10. In terms of how she ultimately looks and acts in this thing, how she looks all right. She's harmless enough to the point where I can respect what they did with her here and how they incorporate the Quetzalcoatl with the creature here as well. Also tie it into dinosaurs and whatnot, which double whammy with it being a dragon and a dinosaur, as it were. And how she acts, she's just a mama trying to accommodate for her babies who will one day terrorize this entire world, which, yeah, good times. Joking aside, though, yeah, I definitely like this version. If she just had a little more battle time with Godzilla, I would definitely rank her higher, but I gotta agree and ultimately give her a 7 out of 10, which is a little generous, but to be honest, given what she ultimately does in the movie as a threat and as a creature, I can definitely give her that much at least.
I'm going to be a little bit lower than you guys. Again, I think this is part of the way that I do the rating thing, where it's half character and half design. I came into this just fully expecting that this would be just stereotypical giant monster shtick for me. So I was a bit surprised that they actually gave her a bit of personality that I think I might be attributing a bit more to than not. But with the Talon thing, where they took so many aspects and references from the Q movie and put it in here, and because we have watched the original Q, the Winged Serpent, for the podcast, those were nice little, hey, I remember that, that's cool kind of things that gave it a bit of personality, which really helped because I did like the design, but good lord, the line, stop staring at me with them big old eyes, just cannot stop applying here. That face.
Yeah.
Oh, that face. The little bit of personality they spliced in that, again, I think I'm attributing more to the not, but I got it. I'll take it. Salvage this. It would have been a 4 if not for that, but because of that, I'm bumping it up to a 6.
Like I say, definitely interesting there. Like I say, I understand your reasoning perfectly because, again, she does have somewhat of character. And like I say, that is interesting that they did that. So let's see, Shark, what would you give her?
All right, so yes, as many of you have pointed out, she's not completely a full monster attacking. She does have some personality, and all that's cool. And the design is alright. It's unique as well. It's another unique take on this Quetzalcoatl character we've covered before. And something I do like, not much about her, but what they do with her. Like, they do some things that, as I mentioned before, wouldn't really happen in other type of situations in other shows. Like, again, the protagonists already have to say, no, we have to kill this thing. We can't set it free. We can't even capture her. And especially at the end of the episode, they do actually kill her. And well, not only her, they actually kill her cheeks as well. So it's like, oh, okay. They actually had the balls to do some of this stuff with a children cartoon. And again, it was the protagonist who casted this. So, okay, okay, so this character may not be any different from typical mother monster, but the lines they were willing to cross with her are lines that no other show really even think about doing it. So, okay, you had courage to do stuff with her. So, I'm going to give you a 7 out of 10 for this.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice. So pretty much nearly unanimous score there. That's another thing that's pretty rare. Been getting those more frequently than that. So that's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions or if you want to pitch your Gamera spinoff to us, you can feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Visit us at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Fiery Discourse YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. Like and hit the bell icon. Leave a comment. Any and all comments are appreciated. Next week, we'll be talking about the 1997 Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys episode, Little House on the Primate. This is a show that I have never really seen, and it sounds really fun.
Monkey.
So, yep, perfect to do it. Sure. Yep. So that'll be it for next week. But until then,
Later, y'all.
Adios. See you all next week.